Yes. So welcome back all. In today's class, we will be learning about the basic fundamental concepts associated with the structural analysis. It's an interesting topic. At the same time, some basic things also have to be understood to ensure that whatever we are learning is at par with what we know. So the first fundamental requirement to understand the structural analysis is to have the knowledge of some of the strength of materials and engineering mechanics concepts. For example, if we are trying to deal about equilibrium, there is something called that is equilibrium. That's what we will start the subject with. And you can see the screen right now, the first slide. I have found it interesting and I have added it into the slides because there is a reason for that. If you can see the screen right now, a train is moving from one end to the other continuously, and the track, and you can see these specific parts, like this part, and there is a road adjacent to that where the vehicles are moving. Now, what is the guarantee that this construction at the top, like a metro, will not fail or will not crack and break down and fall onto the roads? What is the guarantee? The guarantee is given by the analysis, because the movement of a train itself is a tremendous huge amount of load, and such load, whatever the load that is generated by the movement of a vehicle, should be taken by the track and this concrete or steel construction. It should not create any vibrations onto the highway, that is the road. And in order to satisfy such criteria, analysis is required. So all these are structures only. Of course, road is also kind of a highway structure, and you have these specific beams and columns and piers that are there on the top portion where the train is moving. So the first step as an engineer is to check the analysis part, whether it is safe to run a vehicle on the top of it or on the road or not. That's why this I liked it, and it's a realistic example of how important analysis is. And you can see at the end that there is a structure with a sharp point pen like thing at the top. See the surprising and beauty of the civil engineering architecture. Here, if you can see that a sharp edged portion in the top of the structure, imagine a case where there is a wind. A huge wind is occurring in and around the structure. What is the guarantee that the top portion will be intact? That's another question. It's an interesting point too. Yeah, so these things will be, these are the things that we will try to understand and try to use some of the basic concepts and say whether the structure or the structural member are safe or not. Okay, so fine. Now moving forward, so if somebody has any doubts, you can write an email to me. Uh, the next part of this, the initial part that we are going to learn in this subject, are the course outcomes. What is that you will try to learn, and what is that you will try to get out of this course at the end of the semester? The first and foremost thing is to demonstrate the basics of structural analysis and analyze the perfect frames, basics of structural analysis, and use energy methods to analyze beams and frames and demonstrate the behavior of arches along with their methods of analysis. So you need to see here, you have beams, you have frames, and this is an additional term called arches. Use method of consistent deformation. See what are all the methods that we are going to learn in this subject? That is energy method, consistent deformation method for fixed continuous beams, and slope deflection and moment distribution methods to analyze continuous beams. And we are going to demonstrate at the end of the subject the behavior of beams using influence line diagrams. So this topic is more closely related to movement of Traffic load, movement of traffic load. If a vehicle is moving from one end to the other, how is that we are going to analyze? Okay. So this is something that we are going to learn in this subject, course outcomes. Now, so to start this subject, let us try to understand the first and foremost important concept, that is the equilibrium condition. Okay. So the name itself says as equilibrium. So what does that mean? To be in an uniform position when it is subjected to any type of loading, or when things are intact with each other. One such example that I wanted to show in this regard is this sort of a gameplay which children would play. Like, if one person is sitting on one side here, will it be in a balanced condition if there is no second person? Definitely not, because this load will come down and this portion will move here. In order to ensure that this entire platform is uniform or under equilibrium condition, there should be a second person who should sit exactly opposite to that, such that these two forces will act downward and the force that corresponds to the middle will be upward. So this is a balancing part. Or you can simply say that, let us say, for example, let me take my mask here. So simply you can see that, see, I'm holding this on the left hand side. If you can see my hand, I'll stop sharing and start sharing again. So if at all, if we are trying to use, yeah, if at all, if you are trying to use the basic concept here, everybody can see and see the video of mine. You can pin my video. I'm just taking my mask out. So right now, if you see, I'm holding it in one hand and tightly, and I'm dragging on the other hand. So is it under equilibrium? Definitely not, right? When it will be under equilibrium, I'm not moving this hand at all, but I'm trying to move the other hand. So definitely it will not be under equilibrium. So when will it will be under equilibrium? So when I'm trying to see what I'm doing here now, I'm trying to use and stretch both hands. So in this process, of course, it is elastic in nature, which means it will obey Hooke's law, and it will undergo it will undergo resilience. That is strain energy per unit volume. And you can see that this entire middle portion will be in equilibrium. But what's happening when I'm holding it only one hand and pushing the other? This is not coming under the equilibrium condition. So which means you can take any example in your daily routine to understand that phenomena. You can take any example. So one such example I have shown. So the understanding here is that in order to maintain the equilibrium condition, the situations or the loads that are acting on any object should be balanced. So the balancing is one of the important aspects to satisfy the equilibrium condition. So the state in which the forces applied on a body are in balance. So what is the important word here? It's called balance. And one more important thing you might have learned in engineering mechanics, that is the free body diagram. So the complete free body diagram is important. So how does the individual's equilibrium condition of a human body look like? So that can be represented as, you can say that x-axis, y-axis and z-axis. So right, left, backward, forward, up and down. So now what does this mean? So a person can move to the right, can move to the left, and he will be in equilibrium condition when he's standing, because there is no movement as such. If at all, if he's jumping up and down, he's not balanced. If at all he's moving front and back, not balanced. If he's moving left and right, not balanced. But when he's intact, standing on the ground, all the directions are colliding at the center, isn't it? Of course, the entire body to be in equilibrium, this is the best example that I'm showing you. So what are the basic equations that we need? The forces in all directions should be zero, and the moments in all directions should be zero. So any object will have three dimensions, right? X direction, Y direction, Z direction. Of course, this is a mechanistical way of representing X, Y, Z. That means the mechanical way of representing it. But in general, when you consider the civil engineering terminology, you will use the following convention. This is X, this is Y, and this is Z. Okay, both all three ways are equally good enough to represent the behavior of any object under consideration. Okay, so sigma fx, sigma fy, sigma fz. Similarly for the moments also, sum of all the forces in x direction should be zero for a situation to be in balanced condition. So now, why should a force be zero? As I have shown you here, you can see that if any one of them is moving, imagine a case where if any one of them is moving, will the equilibrium condition be maintained? Can anyone answer? In this image, in this picture, if any one of them is moving, can it still maintain the equilibrium condition? If somebody goes up or somebody goes down, can we still say that it is under equilibrium? Yes, not. Good, correct. Priyanka has given the answer, but yes, it cannot be under equilibrium condition. So for it to be under equilibrium condition, this is the requirement. So if somebody has a doubt of why forces should be zero, don't remember, please don't remember that, okay, sigma f is zero, sigma f is zero, sigma mz zero. No. Now we have understood the logic behind it. I have to be in a balanced condition. No, am I? So you're all seeing me in my video. Am I in an equilibrium condition? Can anyone answer? Am I in an equilibrium condition right now or not? To think, even you also, whether it might be you or me, whoever it might be, whoever is talking right now or typing right now, are we all in equilibrium condition or not in equilibrium condition? We are definitely not in equilibrium condition because I'm trying to move my body, move the objects here, and move the hands. Definitely correct, right? That's true. So for me to be in equilibrium condition, even I should not speak like, see, okay, fine. Pin drop silence. Not even a single movement in the body. Then I'll be under equilibrium. So hope everybody has understood that why we are trying to make the forces zero. We are not making forces zero. Actually, it's reverse process. What is that? The situation is allowing the force to be zero. It's not like we are making force zero. That's why. Can you say that these two people who are sitting for playing, okay, because the force is zero, they are not moving? Is it true? No. Because they are not moving, the forces become zero. It's vice versa. So that's one of the beauty about the equilibrium conditions. Very, very important concept. This is in your lifetime. It's a regular phenomena that you will come across. Okay. So moving to the next important slide, very, very important slide. These are called the supports or the boundary conditions and reactions. So all of you please carefully see here. You might have come across only very few things in your strength of materials like pinned or hinged, roller and fixed support. But it is my responsibility to show you various types of supports that you might come across in your real life scenario. That's why I have added every single thing that we normally come across in practical scenario. And most of these supports you will either see in the bridge construction, the tower construction, the transmission line tower, the mobile network towers, or electrical poles, windmill connections at the bottom. So such type of connections can be regularly be seen. Even when you are walking on the road nearby to your house, and if you see some of the electrical poles, try to take the snapshot at the bottom and see and identify what type of support it is. That is how we understand the subject. Just by thinking and learning, this is a pin, this is a roller, but we need to know where do we use it, isn't it? Now, let us come to the understanding of each and every support. So the supports are actually classified here. As you can see on the right hand side, you have a roller. So everyone knows what is a roller. But most of you might find it difficult or try to think, where can this your roller be used? Okay, in structures, in buildings, are we using any, can anyone say, can we use rollers as a support in the buildings that we live in, or the offices or colleges or schools? Can we use rollers in the houses? Is it possible to use that? No, correct. That's a very good answer, Kavya. So why don't we use roller? Normally, people have a doubt that, okay, if I have a roller in a structure, it will roll like a chapati roller. We make chapatis, right? With a stick, which is rolling here and there. But in actual scenario, even if you have a roller as a support in a structure, do you think that the structure will roll like a vehicle? No, not. So the fraction, yes, for moving purpose, that means horizontal displacement. That's what you have read in strength of materials, especially in a topic called deflection of beams. So in deflection of beams, you have learned direct integration method, moment area method, conjugate beam method, Macaulay's method. Out of these four, conjugate beam method is one of the very, very, very important method which is used in almost all the semesters that you study structural engineering. So in that specific concept of deflection of beams, you might have understood and learned that how does a pinned support behave and how does the roller support behave. So the purpose of the roller is to, okay, what Kavya said is, okay, moving purpose. It is for moving purpose, but not intentionally. We are not intentionally wanting it to move. But if you can see these two images on the screen, on the left and right hand side, you can see this is a three roller support, and this is a single roller support. So these type of supports are provided to the bridge structure in order to ensure that the load that is coming from the traffic, like cars, trucks, bikes, buses and all, will be passed on to the support, and some amount of movement because of, the conditions. What are the conditions? Continuously it will be under loading condition, right? Every time a vehicle will go, so some sort of elongation is allowed or movement is allowed, but I will not obstruct the behavior of the structure. So such type of things are actually seen in the uh, bridge structures. That's one example. The second thing is a rocker. You might not have heard it in the previous. If you have heard also, it's fine. So rocker type of supports are generally seen in the heavy industries or factories or some steel constructions where you can see that, maybe I'll change the color. Yeah. So where you can see the specific type, and in which the force with known line of action, only vertical force will be there and unknowns are only one. And then you have a frictionless surface that you can see here. So of course here I am not shown. So this is corresponding to this specific part. So frictionless surface means to the exactly to the ground, a support will be given in an inclined way or a vertical way. For all these three different types of cases, you will be having only one force reaction. Second thing will be a short cable or a short link. So either you can see this is the support to the ground. So this is the support as you can see on the screen. So this support is fixed, I mean, attached to the ground, and it is supported by a cable. So this is cable. So there can be either cables or there can be a link also. So this is actually link and this is actually a cable. So these are also used in the bridges, or these are all, this short link kind of support is used in the heavy steel constructional structures. So considering that we have one more force in the direction and one unknown in that component. And then we have the collar on the frictionless rod. So you can see here, this is a frictionless rod and you have a collar attached to it. So this is actually a collar. Okay. And frictionless pin. So this is a pin that is fixed in the slot. And here also there is one reaction and one unknown. And then we have frictionless pin or hinge, which is general thing that we normally come across, isn't it? We have a pinned support or a hinged support. Yes, correct. Cable stayed bridge in high-tech city. That's what, if somebody is in Hyderabad, the Durgam Cheruvu Bridge is one such example of the short cable like support. Durgam Cheruvu Bridge in Hyderabad, cable state. Yeah, very good, Purna. You have given a good example. Good. So moving forward, now let us try to see what are the other things here. So here we have two reactions, horizontal reaction and vertical reaction, and two unknown reactions here. So two unknowns are there, pinned support. You have fixed support where you have three unknowns and the forces will be in three directions, horizontal, vertical, and a couple. And the couple is also represented as moment. Okay. So if somebody is interested, you can have a look into this video. This will explain a beauty of how different supports would look like, and how each and every parameter also would work. Okay, just a second. I will try to open that video for all of you. That is what we need actually, and it becomes easy for all of you to understand the subject in a more detailed way. So example of a pinned support, so how each and every support would behave is something that that I'm planning to show to all of you. So just a second. Yes. So hope everybody can see
the pin support.
So you can see here when the load is applied, you can see that pin support on the left hand side, the horizontal. See what's happening actually. That is how it is working right now. This is an eye girder steel section. See, eye section B. When it is subjected to load and deflector, see how the movement is happening. That is very important for all of you. I will try to reduce the playback speed such that you can see slowly. See what is happening here. You can see a horizontal direction and vertical reaction. At some point of time, we will try to, see how it happens. Again, it comes back to the speed again. So you can see that exactly closer look how everything the support actually behaves in a real scenario. If the pin support is not properly designed or not properly made, what will happen is these bolts and nuts would come out. These bolts and nuts would come out, and that's where a lot of challenges will be associated. Okay, that's so the importance of the supports is very, very essential for understanding the behavior of any structure. Okay, let us try to move forward now. In reality, all connections and supports are modern with assumptions. Yes, correct, right? Do you feel like all these things are exact? Somebody had done an exact solution for this, like this job it has to be. There are some assumptions assumed. Okay, whenever now you have seen some bolts and nuts connected. So when a load is applied, what is the guarantee that the nuts or bolts will not come out? So such assumptions should be made before taking anything further. But we need to know what are such assumptions and how this will affect the actual performance of the structure. So for that, some examples are also shown for you here. You can see the rollers associated with the specific part. Yeah, so this was an example of rollers and associated bearing pads are used to support the concrete girder of a highway bridge. Now you're all seeing whenever you are coming to the college, I know you can see the flyover Uppal and nearby to Gatkesha. So you can see that these supports you can clearly see there. So whenever you are coming by bus to college next time, you can visualize it. So these are called rollers, as I said before. Next, you have a pinned support to support a rail bridge. So whenever you are traveling, you are going to a railway station, and if you can see any railway bridge at the top, nearby to your location, you can see exactly the pin-shaped support. And then rocker type is also used for bridges. So this is how these three things are actually seen. Okay, so one has to know the purpose of each and every individual support. Okay, yeah. Okay, so I hope you can hear my voice properly right now. Yes, sorry for that. Huh. Yes, okay. So now I will repeat whatever I have spoken. So these are the three examples of the pinned support, the roller support, and the rocker support. So all three are perfect examples of representing the different types of behaviors as an application in the bridges. And this is for your general understanding. I have given this depending upon your need and requirement. You refer to this slide and try to understand how each and every support would behave. Now the next part of the subject would be trying to understand the relationship between the shear force as well as the bending moment. Yes, a good question is coming out. I'll try to answer in the next couple of minutes. uh, just wait for 2 to 3 more minutes, Ritvik. I'll answer your question. So the next topic would be to understand the behavior between shear force as well as bending moment. So the shear force and bending moment are actually an interesting concept. I won't want to derive right now. So this uses the concept of equilibrium. You might have learned it in Strength of Materials 1, and ultimately equilibrium of moments, equilibrium of forces. So slope of shear at point is equal to intensity of the distributed load at that point. That's what we have learned. And slope of bending moment at a point is equal to shear at that point. That's what the definition says. So this is one such beautiful relation that we need to understand and remember. And some more things which are quite popular in most of the loading conditions. So the next topic would be different types of loads that we normally come across. It's a moment or a couple. You can see that here, how a moment or couple would act. And then we have a point load and then UDL for cantilever. So all of you should try to, visualize and remember these types of shear force and bending moment diagrams qualitatively. I'm not spending much time, but I'm just trying to show you what are different types of loads and their corresponding qualitative shear force and bending moment diagram. Most of the cases, you will be asked about sketching shear force and bending moment for the 6 types of beams that are shown here. You can practice it later, but you need to remember in your mind. Again, simply supported with point load, UDL, as well as the triangular load also. Now comes the $1 million question: why structural analysis? So this I already spoke about it in yesterday's class, but to be precise, I will be covering it again now. When a load is applied onto the structure will give the response as an output, and that response can be in the form of stability, how stable the structure is, what is the strength of the structure, whether the structure is stiff or not, whether the structure is economical or not, or the looks of the structure, aesthetic point of view, is it okay or not? And these parameters will be useful for design. So ultimately, why are we trying to analyze a structure? To ensure that the responses are safe and it can continue for design. So it is the application of solid mechanics or strength of materials to predict the response, and response means force and displacement of a given structure subjected to specified load. That is what is called a structural analysis. A very important definition. Okay, it's clear for all. Now, what is a structure? So the structure is generally based on deformation and type of primary load carried. Means, like say for example, take any structure. As I said yesterday, it will have movement when it is subjected to load, and the load can be tensile load, compressive load, if it is behavior flexural due to bending, shear, torsion, or combination of various things. So how to determine this? So this example I will be teaching in the next class moving forward, which is there in the next topic in our syllabus. So when we slowly move forward, I will try to explain you how do we use these parameters and how it is important for us to understand the overall behavior of the structure in terms of basic fundamental concepts. So now I will end the class today here. If somebody has any doubts, I'm more than happy to